I'm Ross, the curious parent.
And I'm John, an education expert.
This is From the Sidelines.
Bite-sized study tips to help you help them through.
Good to see you again, John.
Yeah, you too, Ross. How's things been since last time we spoke?
Very well, thank you. Yeah, all good. And with all of these topics, one of the things I really like to do is digest it a little bit further at the start before you come in and impart your wisdom on us. And none more so than this one, because I think there's three parts of it as such. Two, I can positively relate to, and one definitely not. So breakfast and meal times, absolutely, I'm all over that. Very rarely do I let myself get hungry, which I know is the third component in that one there. Always see the value of food. I'm very excited to talk about food, breakfast, set meal times, and what that means in terms of this.
Yeah, and I think it's hopefully really, it's something that we can all associate with, because, we all eat. And hopefully people do have breakfast, and we'll get into that in a little bit anyway. But if it's something that people can put into practice in their own lives that makes a big difference to their children, then that's what we're here to do.
And we've always mentioned, haven't we, about people sharing with us their images of putting into practice some of these resources. But I must admit, I'll be very keen to see pictures of breakfasts if we can. That would
that might make you hungry.
That would really satisfy me, to be honest. Yeah, seeing some pictures of breakfast. But no, let's get onto it seriously, because obviously this is about everything that Parent, Care and Champion can do. Not about understanding topics or understanding subjects in detail, but actually little tips and tricks that we can do in the home and outside of the home that help our young people to achieve the best that they possibly can.
Correct.
So I've heard it a lot throughout life that breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, is this the case, John? Is this real? Is breakfast the most important meal of the day?
Okay. Well, it's certainly commonly referenced as that, as the most important meal of the day, and for good reason as well, I think, because it has a massive impact on people's ability, and I say people, I didn't say children there, people's ability to be able to function really well throughout the day. And if we remove children from this and just think about it as human beings, when we sleep, we expend a lot of energy actually in terms of growth and repair overnight. So therefore, we need to replenish those energy sources in the morning. And we also then need to have energy for the day. So if we think about our bodies a bit like a car, you need to fuel that car with fuel so that the car can run. Exactly the same of our bodies, that we need to fuel our bodies before we then start our daily tasks. Now, whether that is going to school, whether that's going to work, whatever it is, we've got to put fuel into our body. Otherwise, you hear people talking about, I'm running on empty, same as a car. You're not going to be able to do the things you want to do really well if we haven't done that. So bringing it back to children again then, and their learning, we need to make sure that children have a good energy source to be able to go to school, to be able to think in class, to be able to think about challenging concepts, to be able to sit through exams, et cetera, and perform at their best. And what's really interesting is that the best way to do this that we have found, and this isn't anything that I have found or you've found, that as mankind we've found this, the best way to do this is actually to have cereal, because cereal is a slow release energy source. And that's why so many of us have cereal for breakfast. And we find it on the shelves of all the supermarkets. It's a great way, because what we don't want really is a bit like an energy drink, like a real spike of energy immediately, and that wears off by kind of 8:30, 9 o'clock, to 10 o'clock. I mean, a slow release energy source allows that to be kind of drip fed out of our out of our kind of food into our body in a sustained way, so that actually we can get to, well, hopefully most of us can get to lunchtime without needing that kind of, that second power up of a kind of I need another snack, I can't
confirm that one for myself, unfortunately, but yeah.
And so that's why cereal is really good. So it's a great way to do that. So you don't necessarily need to go away and think of anything that massively different. Actually, cereal, for good reason, is why so many people have it on a morning. However, let me tell you one more thing. Common sense isn't always common practice. And unfortunately, as a experienced school leader, I experience so many children that come to school that haven't had breakfast, that haven't been adequately fueled, let's say, and you can imagine that then has the problems that we talked about.
So we're leading there into that phase of hangry, which is, I'm pretty sure a majority of people have heard of it, when we are essentially hungry
Yeah.
and quite frustrated and angry as a result of that.
Yeah.
And from the perspective of here then, so can being hangry as a young person affect performance within the classroom and also at home perhaps?
Completely. And if you think about when you have been hangry before and you've been, really kind of hungry and your stomach's rumbling, and you're kind of concentrating on that more than anything else, you're therefore losing concentration. You're not able to focus as much. You're not able to hold your focus and concentration for long periods of time. Lots of things where actually just because of your hunger, your mind is starting to drift. It's a bit like toothache as well. Like when you've got toothache, there is nothing other you can focus on apart from that.
Yeah.
So it's thinking, well, how do we how do we combat against that? So mood swings as well. If you're hungry and you've not had food, and all you think, the little smallest things can annoy you. And can become big things because your moods kind of swing and the things really distract you and annoy you. So we want our children to be properly fueled. We want them to have had a good breakfast so that they can concentrate, focus, and learn in the best possible way.
So that covers the breakfast bit.
Yep.
The second part of it around set meal times. Okay, so. Working parent, obviously, it's not necessarily easy to have set meal times and to stick by them.
Yeah.
But equally as well, we do try our best. I know that we try where we can to kind of put them in place. So how does set meal times help children?
Okay, well, for two main reasons, really. First is from a kind of a habits point of view, that we're all creatures of habit, and our bodies, not just mentally, but physiologically and biologically, we like to be in those routines and habits.
Yeah.
So we need, if we are constantly, only having to wait, 3, 4, 5 hours, and we're having something around about 12 o'clock, we're having something around about 5 or 6 o'clock in an evening, we're not having then anything before we go to bed, and your body gets used to that. Therefore, your body is able to wait through those times, knowing that the next meal is going to be coming at a certain time because your body's got used to it. So that's really useful from that point of view. But secondly, as well, it means that you don't then have to expend lots of brain power and energy thinking and worrying about when the next meal's on the horizon. A bit like, the kind of, the caveman in terms of where's my next meal coming from? What am I going to do? How am I going to go and find that next meal? Well, actually, this is about knowing that, we have those routines as children. We know what's going to happen. We know when it's going to, come. And it just puts us at ease from a psychological and a physical point of view, that our body is in a routine and in a habit. And if we can stick to those routines as much as possible. Now, I know you mentioned it might not be possible if people work in shifts and that kind of stuff. As much as possible, try to keep those set routines. It does help, and it does help the kind of regulation of feelings, mood swings, concentration, etc., rather than being all over the place and your body not knowing what's happening. We've talked previously in one of the study hack videos about kind of sleep patterns and things like that. And actually, it's really important to think about the same for meal patterns. The more and more we can keep in those, the more and more that it helps. And again, if you think about if you suddenly go without food for 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, and that happens regularly, it's just not good. You're not firing on all cylinders. You're not feeling fully charged. Let's try and keep that as regular as clockwork as possible.
And so all of these tips and pieces of advice that you've been giving, I see how we can implement them as parents, 100%. But it feels to me a little bit that this one in particular, in terms of managing breakfast, hunger, meal times, that feels a little bit more that parents and carers and champions of young people, they can probably support and implement this even more explicitly than the others, and play a real critical part in doing so.
Correct. Depending on how old your child or your children are, you may still be the person that is actually responsible for making meals, cooking meals, etc., in the house. You may be, you may not be. But if you are, then this is on you to a certain degree. You can help keep that habit. You can help keep that routine. You can, and again, not down to the minute that we have to sit down at 5:23 every night. But if we're keeping it round about tea time, 4, 5, 6 o'clock time, or round about 7 o'clock, whatever it is, then again, you're in control of that. Rather than 4 o'clock one night, 8 o'clock the other night, then we miss it the night after, we don't have anything, then it's all over the place. So definitely in what you said there, Ross, that as a parent, you can play a big part in this, knowing and understanding that just by you setting and maintaining those set meal times, you are helping regulate your child's bodily kind of functions and allow them to feel more comfortable, more stable when they know the next meal's kind of on the horizon at certain points.
I mentioned it before in one of the other episodes around consistency, and kind of that's one of the key things that comes through as well, isn't it? Habits, consistency, regularity, and that's one of the things you mentioned there. Regardless of exactly what time you have that, if you have those set times of the day, again, the body knows that that's happening at set times of the day. It makes everything much more effective. One of the other bits that you mentioned as well in the Study Hack film was around seeing our child's bodies as how an athlete would see theirs.
Correct.
What do you mean by that?
Okay, if we think about athletes, they take care of their body as much as they would take care of their mind. Okay, and sometimes when we think about education, we think about the mind and what we're learning, and we don't think about the body as much. Those two have got to come hand in hand. Okay, so what we're saying here is that actually having set meal times, making sure that they are adequately fueled with the right food, the right nutrition, the right diet, is going to play a huge part, not a little part, a huge part in the overall learning process, because they're going to feel happier, they're going to feel energized, their body's going to be able to repair and grow, they're going to be able to concentrate, they're going to be free from distractions. All of these things are a huge part of that learning process. So if you only concentrate on the study guides and the revision and the cramming, and we have late nights and we have meal times all over the place, don't be surprised if everything's not kind of working in tandem and working really well, because that side of it is sometimes one that's neglected. And that's why I always say, think about your child's body like an athlete would. How can we make sure that we're preparing in the same kind of vein as they would?
Thanks, John.
You're very welcome.
Just before you go, my role here, as I've said, is to ask the questions that hopefully those listening would want to ask. So, what's your favourite breakfast?
Cereal, of course, Ross.
Cereal. Okay.
I'm actually a Weetabix man.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I like Weetabix.
Chocolate or plain?
No, just plain.
Strain.
With actually, it's a slight secret, I might say it's a little bit quieter, with a sprinkling of Frosties on top.
And if there's no better way to end a podcast than the concept of Weetabix and Frosties sprinkled on top, then I don't know what it is.
Well, it gives them my slow release energy and a little bit of a kick as well at the same time, I suppose, with the Frosties. So it's all good.
Do you have that today? Was that this?
Every day.
Yeah, okay.
I'm ashamed to admit, I'm a creature of habit, and I've done it for probably 20 odd years. Maybe even longer, maybe 30 years.
Love it. So on that note, if you have Weetabix and Frosties, please submit that to us and share that with us, because I think that would be lovely, lovely to see and know there's one more person. Well,
I'd like to know if there's at least one more person like me.
Me too, absolutely. Yeah. But no, thanks very much as always. Nuggets, advice, really important information around that concept and why set meal times can be so vital alongside breakfast, alongside managing hunger. So thanks, John. And we'll be back shortly with many more tips, advice to help them through. Thank you.